The idea of transparent structures has long captured the imaginations of modern architects. Their use of more and more glass, combined with exposed concrete, are creating unconventional designs. Today, they continue to explore the balance between glass and concrete in creative and innovative ways to maximize a home's natural indoor-outdoor flow. For architect James Chang, the use of glass and concrete in the homes he designs adds to the well-being of those who live in them. Flooding homes with natural light is his answer for the city's moody skies.
Glass houses, to me, has been around for centuries. I think if you look at the older houses in Japan, China, or Pompeii, they were glass houses in their days. You know, the idea of being one with nature, focusing into courtyards for privacy, but yet open to light and air is an old idea. I think it's just an idea now that we have the technology, the know-how, how to do big sheets of glass. So it's an evolution that is long overdue, I think. So for me, in BC, we have a lot of rain. So to be able to see a lot of soft light is very important. Then you won't feel so depressed. And the other thing is glass houses have changing mood throughout the day as the sun moves around. As an architect, I really believe in procession. The experience of a house starts from the sidewalk. And that's why when we designed this house, you don't have a straight line to go from the sidewalk to the front door. You actually have to turn and experience the garden, and then make another turn, then you see the front door. One of the main reasons for a glass house is so that you can take advantage of the views. That's why the living room is oriented on the pond that we created. In this particular case, it became a feature, and we put art objects and stuff into it. So from the living room, when you look out, you see that. And this is important in BC because when it rains, it's the near view that you will see. We broke this house down into zones, where the entertainment zone, where the adults would be, and then there's a family area where kids could be messy and so on. The kitchen is actually an Italian kitchen, and it's meant to be totally open. The other thing is, when they entertain, which they do quite a bit, is that the long bar becomes the serving bar. So the whole house, people can circulate. And the other interesting feature of this house is because of the central light well and stair, you can have people wandering the whole house, and yet you're kind of aware where they are. So we don't want to put a solid stair in there that takes out most of the light, so we decided to do a cantilever steel stair with glass treads. But at the same time, we have to be careful that it's not too slippery, so we have to make sure the glass has a special texture that when you walk on it, you know, you're not going to slip. Walking upstairs, you'll be very much aware that you're under a giant skylight. Master bedroom is an interesting experiment. The client is very adventuresome. They really like the indoor-outdoor idea. So we've taken it to the point where we have actually a glass shower that is outside the house. And when you take a shower, you have to be quite brave because you have to trust that nobody can see you. Because it's on the exterior patio with screens and planting. The other thing interesting is on the master bedroom, we have a pond right outside on one side and a terrace on the other. So downstairs is like a gym for the whole family, and they can all work out together and play together. At the same time, we also created a fish pond to set the stair. So from down below, you're always aware of what's up, so you won't get that feeling of sunken into the basement. I think the most difficult thing for an architect to do well, I think, is a single-family house. Because it's so common, it's being done every day, to really take it to the next level requires a lot of work. And what we find is the simpler a house looks, the harder it is to get it right, because then every element has to count.
It looks like a really simple thing to do. It's a very complicated house to detail. It's the ability to kind of make the integration of the heating, ventilation, air conditioning system throughout the building. It's hidden. You can't see where it is. He's basically done discrete bulkheads at times at certain places. The other thing is that it really depends on the quality of the trades that you work for. You can't use your average trades to get a great concrete job. And so there is a premium that comes with using concrete. It's a one-time pour experience and then it's over. So it's great that it's a utilitarian material, it's great that it's theoretically inexpensive, but unless you use the right trades, it can be botched and it's very difficult to fix.
He likes to work with complex volumes. He likes to pile volumes together, have them merge in and out, and concrete is a very useful material. Of course, he uses glass in a big skylight, and that skylight is over a large staircase that is the core, that is the center, that is the organizing principle for the house. So those two elements, glass and concrete, are starting to come together in some very interesting architecture.
Architect Paul de Ruyter understands modern materials and how they relate to a Dutch landscape. One of the most captivating uses of glass and concrete in a home's design is when it achieves a subtle balance.
When I started my company in 1994, I didn't have commissions at that point, and I thought, okay, well, I might as well organize my own commissions. So I bought a piece of land, this piece of land, and then I sold it to people who liked architecture.
And it turned out to be that this land was owned by a certain architect in Amsterdam, and it was Paul. And so we made contact, and it happened that we had the same taste of modern buildings.
So you have a lot of barns around here, and we try to mimic the barns in such a way. The whole building is covered in green. And the outsides are made out of wood, so the building would fit in the surroundings. And that's why we made these elements as well, these shutters, that you also can move it open and alter the building. And so, in the contrast with the outside, we made the inside very light and very open. And we used light materials, light surfaces. And a lot of glass is possible, and we also moved the volume of the building, so the three buildings' volumes are moved separate from each other, and also in different heights, so that you get more daylight also inside of the back of the house. The people want to have a swimming pool inside of the house, and we thought it would be very interesting for us to make the volume of the swimming pool an element inside of the house. So you can walk around the swimming pool, it's like an obstacle almost. But this obstacle is very important because it's made out of glass, that on the top of the swimming pool you have daylights, and we used a kind of black material inside of the swimming pool, so it became like a pond inside of the house. And on the north side of the pool you have more informal rooms, you could say. And the idea is also of this house that when they wake up, the sleeping room's next to the swimming pool, so they go for a swim. And we didn't want to make separate rooms. We only want to have rooms that would connect, or volumes, I say the spaces who connect other spaces. So you have, like, for example, on the south side you have a working, kitchen and living, and they're separated not by closed off boxes, but half open boxes. So that's how you can have a very open floor plan, but also the possibility to have some privacy when you live together. Well, we want to get here as old as possible, and so everything has to be very comfortable. So we made everything possible for a wheelchair. We also have like features that everything can control from one remote control. Suppose if you're sick and you want to close the curtains, you don't need help, but you can press the button.
I like the whole house. And for me, it's very comfortable. And I like to play the piano a little. So where the piano is, I am. And the extraordinary Dutch sky with all those clouds you see in those 17th century paintings. Wonderful.
It's nice to integrate the knowledge of an owner, because they know how to live best. I think it's quite successful in a sense. It's perfectly for them. It's not too big, it's not too small.
One of the subtleties in the Villa Dyes is the fact that it's essentially a bungalow. It's a very sophisticated house in terms of how it controls light and the volumes. The main living spaces are long and narrow, so you understand the restrictions on either side, and it tends to be glass on both sides. From an energy perspective, the Netherlands is a fairly temperate climate. It doesn't get the extreme cold, so it balances that off. But you do get a lot of gray days in the winter, and so the glass again makes it a nicer environment on the inside.
So what you see in this house is how comfortable these people are with where they live and the nature of the environment in which they live, so that they actually take that landscape and put it in their glass box, their fishbowl, right next to where they sleep. In that sense, this house, by keeping the connection with the landscape, by putting the swimming pool in this glass box so close to everything, so much part of their living, that it's a wonderful use of concrete and glass to express where and how you live.
In Canada's capital, Ottawa, where temperatures can often hit unlivable extremes, architects have to be creative in the way that they use concrete and glass. Believing that each material used to construct a house possesses a unique voice, architect Derek Crane's skillful use of glass and concrete sing the praises of his passion.
The house sits on a long and narrow plot of land, which is north and south, largely in its orientation. The original concept of this house was literally a block of stone floating on sheets of glass. The materials of the outside are stucco, which is the concrete element, the glass, aluminum, and to complement all these cooler materials, the warmth of wood. The entry to the house is, of course, an entry off a street, and the goal was to make it warm and welcoming and bright. And so a two-story atrium space with window up 2 stories, allowing that soft northern light to come in, was really important in the initial development of the house. Well, it's a very open plan. On the ground floor, we tried to create a sense of being drawn through the house. The goal was to set up a series of small views where everything is set in a bit of a peekaboo fashion. The living room space is a very modern family space. It links the entry with the kitchen, with the inside dining area, the small breakfast room. It links the outside deck and runs directly to the backyard. So in a small house, it really is that wonderful mediating space through which and around which everything happens. Concrete is a wonderful and delightful material in our world, but a lot of us are slightly afraid of it, and I think we've only begun to explore the beauty of that material. Maintaining the transparency through to the stairway. If you notice, the stairs going to the second floor are without risers, so that light that moves in, that north light, draws through the entirety of the house. The second floor, as opposed to the ground floor, is much more discreet in views and vistas. That was done in a way that as you move into that room, we've pushed out the wall to create a bay as an extension of the space with windows which reflects the warm paneling of the exterior, and the corner windows with glass joining glass. Each material that we work with has a language of its own. It has a voice. And our challenge in architecture is to try and understand and interpret that voice. The use of glass helps us to be more honest, to identify more with our environment outside, and hopefully to be more sensitive to that environment. Those issues are some of the drivers that we tried to use in this house to interpret the client's needs.
The thing that distinguishes this house is it's in Ottawa, which has a more severe climate, and so you can't use endless amounts of glass, and so there's a brokering between glass and solids. I think what he's done quite well is capture the views that he wishes to exploit and introduce glass almost as large pieces of art in the wall. And it has a way of kind of exploiting views and creating a relationship between inside and outside.
Where concrete does play a very important role in this Ottawa house is on the floor. And that's becoming increasingly popular because it's very easy to do radiant heating. And one of the aspects of radiant heating, and this relates back to insulation and having lots of glass, is that you can keep your house considerably cooler, because if your feet are warm, then in fact your body feels warm. So you can actually keep your heat down, you can save energy. So it's a fairly simple house using very neat little devices to make it complex and more interesting.
The three houses that we've seen in this program are very different. They reflect both their environment and their clientship, who the owners are, and then the approach of the architect. In Vancouver, temperate climate allows lots of glass, and so you have an adventurous three-story house where glass is used in a variety of ways. And we use concrete as well in a very sophisticated way. Ceilings, floors, walls, everything is out of concrete. In contrast, the house in Ottawa is a much smaller house, kind of designed for a more extreme climate, but there's lots of glass proportional to the size of the house. In contrast to both of those, the house in the Netherlands on one level, basically using glass for almost the entire fabric of the exterior of the building. And because of the climate, there's the opportunity to add lots of glass.
The use of glass has evolved from simple transparent openings to an architectural skin that is capable of numerous and changeable functions. Its relationship with concrete helps to expand its versatility and benefits. The delicate balance between glass and concrete is an art for architects designing livable modern homes.